The other side of the injury report was TJ Watt, questionable with a rib injury, limited all week. TJ Watt's that to me, that's more surprising, or I guess equally surprising as Jaylen Warren, because if Najee's good to go off one limited practice, why is TJ Watt questionable with 3 limited practices? It makes you think maybe that injury is a little bit more serious than it appears on paper.
Yeah, I'm not really sure how healthy Watt is in general. It might be a combination of things, him working back from that pec still. He was a little quiet last week, but I'm not sure how much of that was really injury related. I think that the coach just did some things schematically on purpose that kind of limited his effectiveness. But yeah, I mean, having Watt back in the lineup is huge. I mean, you can tell the defense, is completely different, obviously, with him in the game. So him being able to go this week is extremely important if you're looking to extend that win streak. I'm going to guess he plays. That's just my opinion.
Yeah.
But
anybody who's ever guessing TJ Watt is not going to play.
I mean, it's going to be difficult to get that dude on the sideline unless, something's really wrong. And with him being a limited participant, at least in practice all week, I just think it's one of those things where they're just being more cautious than anything else.
Yeah. There's we sat here for 4 weeks maybe and talked about, is TJ Watt going to play with a torn pec? I feel like a rib injury that allowed him to practice is more than expected to be one that he plays through. I agree. I don't expect anybody to be out except for Akello in this game. I want to touch on Akello because Akello's your guy. You know what I mean? Like, he was your guy coming into the season. My biggest question mark when it comes to Akello right now, why is he still on the active roster? Why is he not on? It doesn't make any sense for the Pittsburgh Steelers to keep this man off of IR and just hold a roster spot for a guy that hasn't even practiced since week 3. Practiced 3 times since week 3. Played 2 quarters of football since then. Just shut him down. Just shut him down for 4 weeks minimum.
Those soft tissue-ish injuries, man, they're so tricky. They're just hard to gauge on when guys are going to be able to be themselves. And, and I'm not making excuses for him. I mean, it's very clear what happened in Philly. I mean, he got beat two different times for touchdowns. One where they left him on an island with AJ Brown, and that's what they wanted him to come in here and do. I mean, that's the reason they brought him back, and he didn't hold up. But I think it's very obvious to me that he wasn't fully healthy, and that's
definitely not.
That's a tough spot to put any corner in, especially when you're going up against a guy like AJ Brown in Philly. But him not practicing since that game just tells me he's just not ready to go. And also, one thing that's kind of interesting about Akello that I noticed when I was at training camp, that dude spent more time stretching than any.
He's the most flexible human being ever.
Yeah, I mean, it was incredible. Like, he would be the one guy that you would think would never have issues with that, just because he just spends so much time doing that. So it's just weird. At corner too, if an offensive lineman pulls a hamstring, they can play around that maybe a little bit better. Cornerback is a stopwatch position. If you can't run, it's over. It's just if you have anything limiting your mobility and that extra gear at the top, it's going to be really hard to play through that. So as far as your question about the injury reserve thing, man, obviously they would have did it, I think, if they had the foresight of, knowing that he wasn't going to be able to make it back anytime soon. It's just, I think those soft tissue injuries, and they had some questions at corner. I mean, they made a trade for a corner a couple weeks ago. So maybe it's just that.
And then put him on IR.
Yeah, maybe it's just that they don't know. They didn't know if they would have the luxury of putting him on there. I don't think that I know that the Steelers did not anticipate James Pierre playing like he's playing. Because
they're definitely not.
They've been so hesitant to put him in the lineup all year, even when other guys have struggled. They did it against Indy finally, so maybe he's back in their good graces. But it's just very clear to me that they don't trust some of the guys that they have on the roster right now.
Yeah.
So maybe that plays into it as well.
Yeah,
but I agree with you.
Hoping.
It is frustrating holding up a spot for a guy that really hasn't been able to play this year.
No, it just doesn't make. And you don't replace him with. There's nobody to replace him with. But when DeMarvin Leal comes back, you're going to cut somebody instead of putting Akello on IR. I don't know about that one. I agree with you. With the Pierre thing, I don't know if you saw TA's presser the other day, but when I think it was Jim Wexell asked how close Pierre was to getting cut, TA just like gave a smirk, and then he was like, that's not my pay grade. And it was like, yeah, it is. You know, you make that call, buddy. There's no way Mike and Omar are sitting around going, all right, we're just gonna cut random guys without talking to our coaching staff about who we should cut. So he was very close. The turnaround, though, obviously huge. I like James. I think he's a good guy. I think he's a good player. He's just he's a very much developmental piece to the defense, but he's still very young. Like, he's a third-year cornerback, and the first year didn't count, essentially. So, toss him into the flames, but I think he's got some potential.